Welcome to another episode of the Nourishing Africa podcast. Today, we have here Mr. Taiwo Ogunleye, who is the head of Extension and Outgrower program at Sultry International in Nigeria. Sultry is the leading cassava and derivatives company in Nigeria. And Taiwo has several years' worth of practical experience in outgrower management and will share critical insights on the topic of the podcast today, which is effectively managing outgrowers to maximize profits and minimize losses. As we all know, outgrower schemes are evolving as a top strategy to minimize production costs and optimize the supply chain for agribusinesses in Africa. However, outgrower schemes come with huge risks such as poor management, disloyalty of outgrowers, high cost of logistics, and so on, which, if not effectively managed, may lead to high losses and downward spiral of the business. So our guest today, Taiwo, will be sharing insight on how to effectively manage outgrower schemes to maximize profits and minimize loss. Hi, Taiwo. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, good afternoon.
Thank you for joining us. Please introduce yourself and your company to our listeners out there.
My name is Taiwo Ogunleye, the head of Extension and Outgrower program, Sultry International Limited. Sultry are practically based on the production of high-quality cassava starch and high-quality cassava flour for industrial use. We are located in Alaide Village, Ado-Awaye, Oyo State. The company started its operation in 2005 and later expanded its activities to production of starch, flour, and currently we are building a sub-bito factory that is based on cassava. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Taiwo, for the introduction. Now, I would like us to dive right into the heart of the topic we're discussing today. So, can you please tell us a bit more about the Outgrower program that is run by Sultry and the impact this Outgrower program has in the company?
Okay, in 2012, Sultry started with a pool of 500 farmers, and presently we have over 5,000 farmers in our database that's currently under our Outgrower program. Presently, we have 8 clusters that spread about 5 local governments in Oke-Ogun area of Oyo State. Then we have about 44 farmers and about 10 extension officers as well. At the beginning of the year, we carry out something that we call sensitization program. This is where we get to tell our farmers or our intended farmers what we do in our company as far as outgrower is concerned. Then after the sensitization comes mobilization. This is the point where we register interested farmers into the scheme. So we have a series of agricultural modules that we train our farmers on. Prominent among them are good agricultural practices. This is what assure farmers of high yield after geo activities. Then we have cooperative management, which help our farmers group themselves into cooperative. Then we also train them on contractual arrangement. This is the point where the farmers are able to negotiate the price that they want to sell their cassava after a year. Because at the beginning of the year, when we are doing the training, we also carry the farmers along with the price that is likely for us to buy their produce during harvest, which is always a year after. So the farmers cooperative and the company come together, we negotiate the price considering the farmers' achievable cost of production. So from there, we will be able to extrapolate to the price we will buy from the farmer that will be profitable for us and also profitable for the farmers, because this is key. It is the only thing that will keep them going in this scheme. So part of the activities we render, they are basically to have the extension service and technical service. So the extension service include tractorization and supply of inputs, credit input to the farmers. So the tractorization and the input, which include fertilizer, herbicide, are given to the farmer on credit, interest-free. So at the end of the year, when the farmers supply their produce, whatever activities we have rendered to them, we deduct our money, while the rest will go to the farmers. Then the technical aspects include the trainings and farm advice. Farm advice in the sense that you will go to any farmers if you notice emergence of disease on their plots, and we give them the necessary in terms of telling them what to do, and mostly we recommend pesticide that they will use on the field. Then we also link our farmers to finance. Like in 2017, we linked 252 farmers to the Central Bank of Nigeria under the Outgrowers loan scheme, where we were able to access 133 million for the farmers that we use for the 996 hectares of cassava land. So currently, as I speak, the payment is at 90%, and the remaining 10% are those that has issue of farm failure. So they replanted, and hopefully before the end of the year, we'll be able to recoup our money 100%. Thank you.
Interesting, Mr. Taiwo. Thank you so much for that. So you mentioned that you started the Outgrower programs in 2012.
Yes.
All right. So how has this program impacted on the company's growth so far?
Okay. What we do is our major raw material, our sole raw material is cassava, as we all know. So having a stable raw material base is very key, because this is where the growth of the company lies. So building our raw material base by expanding the number of farmers that we have has really helped the company in terms of growth. Like I said, when we started in 2012, we only have a 20 per day ton capacity. Then in 2013, we built another 30 tons per day. Then just last year, we built a sub-bitter plant that we also be using cassava. So all this will be able to achieve because of the sustainable outgrower program that we have placed. So it is very, very key for any company to have a very good running outgrower base if you really want your company to grow.
Thanks for that. So when talking about engaging outgrowers, I'd like to know what criteria should agribusinesses prioritize when sourcing for outgrowers?
Okay, the first point to notice, selecting the right type of farmer. Like I said, one of the first things we do every year is the sensitization program. This is where we get to know the farmers that are really, really interested in what we are doing, what we want to sell to them, the idea we are bringing to the table. So it is during this sensitization program and our interaction with farmers that we'll be able to get to know the right type of farmer. For example, it will not be proper for us to, we are doing cassava, and during our sensitization mobilization program, we now mobilize a farmer that has the interest of maize. So it's two different things. So we make sure we select the right type of farmer, which is the first point and is very key. Then the second point is land availability. Even if you select the right farmer, is this farmer as we have all around people we call political farmers. So we make sure we select the right type of farmer. This particular farmer, they have access to land we can be able to access anytime we want. Then another thing is to select farmer that has good agricultural knowledge and experience. Though we also consider farmers have little or no knowledge about cassava, but always at a small quantity. And another point is, even this farmer you are reaching out to, are they motivated to participate? What do I mean by being motivated? It's a different thing to sensitize farmer. It's a different thing for them to know what they want in the program you're introducing. So it's always very important to select the farmers that are motivated, because this is when you'll be able to get their commitment. So in summary, well, the points I've mentioned so far is selecting the right type of farmers, farmers that have access to land, and farmers that are motivated, that are ready to participate in the outgrowers.
Thank you so much for that. Lots of insight. So in terms of managing outgrowers when you bring them on board, I imagine that it comes with its own peculiar challenges. So what are the challenges encountered so far in managing outgrowers based on your experience, and what strategies have you employed to address these challenges, especially towards minimizing losses and ensuring profitability?
Okay, so one of the greatest challenges, issue of side selling, which come with farmers' loyalty. What I mean by side selling is at the point of harvest, even after supplying these farmers the necessary input, the necessary technical advice, at the point of harvest, majority of them still side sell. So the issue of side selling is very, very predominant among the farmers. Then secondly, we have issue of cattle inversion. Cattle inverting farmers' farm during growth of the crop. And the third one is also the farmers' loyalty, which also come hand in hand with the issue of side selling. So to curb all these challenges I've mentioned earlier, one of the first things we do is to register these farmers. We form them into cooperative, meaning each farmer will be traceable to a particular cooperative group. Then second thing we do is we choose a cross guarantee between each group. That is, farmer A will cross guarantee farmer B, so that even if farmer A side sell our produce, we can fall back to farmer B's farm, because we issue a memorandum of understanding to the farmers. That is an MOU form where they put their details and their biodata. So there is a section that contains the guarantor's information as well. So in there we have stated, should in case farmer A side sell, we will fall back to your farm to harvest the exact hectare of land that we cultivate for farmer A. So what you normally do is whoever that is guaranteeing, we have a larger farm. For example, if farmer B that want to guarantee farmer A has 2 hectares and farmer A that is guaranteeing has 1 hectare. So it means farmer B has more farmland than farmer A. So that is why we bring in the issue of cross guarantee to help us curb the issue of side selling. Then to tackle the issue of factory inversion, we advise our farmers to look for a contiguous land where they can cultivate. So if, for example, a farm is as high as 10 acres and the farmers, they keep it clean, so it will be very difficult for the cattle to enter such farm compared to someone that has 1 hectare here, then another 1 hectare in about 2 kilometers. So we try to discourage the farmer from cultivating on scattered land. Thereby, this has progressively helped us to curb the issue of the cattle inversion. Then we also give signposts to our farmers. So these signposts, they will erect on their farm. Then we put this cross mark. It is very easy. Even if the Fulani cannot read, we'll be able to interpret picture. We put our company logo, and majority of the farm we normally do is always in collaboration with a particular partner. So we put our partner's logo as well. Then one key thing that we also do to curb this issue of Fulani is we try to inculcate some of them into our outgrowers, because once you are part of our farmer, you'll be able to understand the benefits of the outgrowers. So these are what we have done practically over the years to keep our outgrower program running.
All right, thanks so much for that. I would like to ask particularly on mismanagement on the part of the outgrowers. So sometimes I imagine that you might have some outgrowers who would default on managing their fields properly. I mean, following good agronomic practices. Sometimes they might just let the fields go and the weeds will just, take over. So in such situations, what do you do?
Okay, at the initial stage, we have a lot of these issues happening on the scheme. So we get to know that if farmers, they don't have contribution on the farm, then they don't have this sense of belonging. So what we have done over the years is, okay, if the total cost of the farm will be, let's say, 100,000 for example, then if the service we are rendering will cover 60,000, then the farmer must also provide 40,000 service. So it's like we are doing our part, definitely the farmer must do their part. Because the little contribution they have done on the farm, no matter how small it is, they will not want the effort to be a waste. So we are able to learn this over the years as a result, because there are some times that we even give farmers cash as weeding cost on their farm. Then we compare how the maintenance of such farm goes with the farm in which the farmer have one or two inputs. So we'll be able to know that whatever farm that we do for the farmers and they have a little input, they tend to take care of the farm than us bearing the 100% cost. So with this logic, we'll be able to manage farmers, this nonchalant attitude of not taking care of their farm. Or sometimes we get to the farmer's farm and you see bush everywhere. But once we tractorize, we tell the farmer, okay, go and look for stem. Make sure you plant it. After planting, that we'll be able to verify physically that, oh, truly you've planted this farm. That is the point. We now give you a post-planting herbicide to maintain the farm. It's different from tractorizing for the farmer and giving the farmer the input even before he or she plants. So make sure whatever activity we are rendering, it will precede one of the farmer's activity. Even before we come for land preparation, we must have taken care of your farm. That is, if the farm is bushy, you must have slash. And if it is that you want to spray, you must have sprayed before we bring our tractor. So with all this logic, we'll be able to set the farmers on their feet. So whatever they do, we do for them. They know it's not for free, that they also have their own parts to play.
Interesting. That is very interesting.
Yeah.
So
then one more point, please. We also have a monitoring app that we use. We call it Farm Force. It is produced by Syngenta Foundation. So the Farm Force, it's web-based, but formally. The extension officers, they have a portion of the application on their feed. Then we also have a monitoring officer that manages the web aspect. So there is an applet for the farmers on the application, which have the farmers' biodata and all other activities to be done on the farm. So right from the day we tractorize on the farm, the extension officer will input the date, the hectare of the land, then automatically it will show on the laptop, on the system. So whenever the monitoring officer sign into the platform and is able to check, okay, for this week, this social extension officer tractorized 10 hectares, but just 2 hectares has been planted, then easily we'll be able to alert the extension officer, okay, you tractorize for, let's say, for 5 farmers, only 1 has planted, what is happening? Then the extension officer knows the next point of action, which is to alert the farmer, why is your farm still unplanted? So these are the measures we have put in place. And this application can take record of all the activities on the farm from land preparation till the point of harvest.
That's a very useful resource. Thank you, Taiwo. So I imagine that there are lots of, do's and don'ts in this agreement. So what are those top things that a new entrepreneur, a new farmer, a new processor needs to include in this memorandum of understanding?
Okay, the MOU is a one-pager document. So we because of the nature of most of the farmers, we also try to keep it simple. So what we do is just to put a space for the farmer's biodata, your land area, your name, phone number, and your farm address. Then we also put the variety, our preferred cassava variety. Then we put our harvesting terms, that is whatever 12 months. Then we put the price, and the price is always in range because of we are after the starch in the cassava. So we always put a range. If your cassava fall between the starch content of, for example, 15 to 16, we buy at so price. Then the last thing that is there is a clause. Should in case there is a misunderstanding between the farmer and our company, how are we going to resolve this? So this will be resolved in the presence of an external mediator. So then, like I said earlier, then we also have a part for the guarantor, which contains the guarantor's biodata, the name, address, farm address, then the number of hectares the guarantor has, the phone number. Then there will be a space where for declaration that, okay, if so farmer defaults, I am liable or responsible for him. Then the two parties will sign.
Thank you so much for sharing that. So I would wrap this up in a bit. I just have one last question on what top best practices around the world would you recommend for managing both people and processes on an outgrower scheme? I know you've shared lots of insights before.
Yes.
Just to wrap this up in a bit of top best practices.
Okay. One practice that I always recommend for people is to practice Outgrower, which is looking for a contiguous land, or let's say about 200 hectares in a particular location. Then you bring this farmer to come and farm on the land. This are adopted over the years. That's has helped us to curb the issue of side selling, because this is the most rampant issue among these farmers. So if I see anybody that is interested in outgrowers, what I always advise, adopt Outgrower as against the outgrower. Is the same, but just the land, because you have a total control of all the activities on that land, because it is a contiguous land. Then also it is also to have a monitoring application that will simplify your work, because you cannot be everywhere at the time. So it's good to have a central application that we use to monitor both your field officers and the farmers' activity at the same time. So these are the two top best practices that I know from experience that I can recommend.
Thank you so much, Taiwo, for this insightful session. I've learned a lot, and I know that our listeners out there have done the same. We appreciate your support at a time like this.
Outgrower scheme, it's really a sustainable way for processors and upcoming entrepreneurs. But one key thing they should have in mind is having the love of these farmers at heart. It is key, because these farmers, they are human. At a point, they will still get to know if you are faithful to your business or not. So one key thing that should be their watchword is to have farmers' love at heart, which means as you are growing your company, you should also grow the farmers hand in hand. You cannot do one at the expense of the other. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Taiwo, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to be on the program.
All right. Thank you, our listeners out there. I hope you've had an insightful session with Taiwo Ogunleye, the head of Outgrower and Extension Program at Sultry International. Do join us next time. Bye-bye.